about this ancient civilization. Some call it Atlantis, some call it another name, and we're talking about all kinds of information about the technology this ancient civilization. We're not just talking about something with stone buildings. Apparently, we're talking about something wild. That's all just hearsay, and until you find out after at the fall of Berlin, you have 1,000 Buddhist monks, and several of them wearing SS uniforms that were brought there to do a translation on the thing. And this was the only time a Westerner had ever seen this book. And so you got a lot of wild stuff now. Now, what happened to it? I don't know. Did they translate it? Most likely. But that, I'd like to read it. Why not? But, that's where this stuff goes. It goes out there. It's never been reconciled. And most of the planet wants it to go away. Most of the planet wants it to go away, wants it reconciled and go away more than anyone else. But whoever controls the past controls the future. And now I want to transition and talk a little bit more about women in propaganda, one of the themes we've seen. One of the greatest users of women in velvet tactics in regards to propaganda is the Muslims, the Palestinians, and Hezbollah. You won't necessarily see their women on Fox News because they don't do anything illegal. Yeah, a lot of these women that work for these Muslim organizations, they don't do anything illegal. There's nothing illegal about putting out a message. But let me tell you something. I don't know if you realize it or not, but Israel's lost a war not through bullets, but through propaganda. I mean that there's one by an emotional little Palestinian girl that is very well done, but at the same time it's a tearjerker. I'm guessing you can still YouTube it or Google it. Emotional Palestinian girl, Philistina or something like that. She's talking about Palestine or Philistina, and they got her on YouTube. But you can get on YouTube and see some brilliant propaganda. But a lot of their propaganda, and it's not really propaganda. If someone gets their house blown up or gets their father's head blown off, but they're really stretching the stuff. They do a good job with it. But a lot of their operatives, believe it or not, are women. Yeah, a lot of them are women. And they do a very, very good job. You get on there and do a search over emotional Palestinian girls or a little Palestinian girl. There's a couple of them that are very, very well done. They're not big budget, but it's very effective stuff. Most Westerners, especially in the United States or Great Britain, are very unaware of this type of thing. They're not aware of it being out there because it doesn't make Fox News. They play it everywhere else. You got to remember, we're only a certain percentage of the population. They're playing this stuff all over the place, but not around us. But it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But Hezbollah and a lot of these Muslim groups have made use of a lot of female agents. It doesn't make the press. All their top operatives you'll see on the news will be males because they're the ones trying to do something violent. When in fact, if you look at reality, what is more obvious? If you look at truth in front of your face, they have won the war not with any bullets. There's never been a bomb blast where Palestinians have ever won anything. They can't win that way. But they have been devastating. They've controlled the message. They've dominated the energy flow when it comes to putting out the message. They've dominated where the message is going. They've owned it. Israel can't do anything right because of that. Yeah. But they never did it with a bomb. They never did it with might is right. They can't. I mean, they're basically, you kiss them goodbye and you give them warning. But you see, even if Israel wipes them out, Israel cannot win. Yeah, Israel can't win that way. I mean, it's just an impossible scenario, isn't it? Sure it is. For the Anglo-American elites and whatnot, they got to give them a home. But even then, is that going to be enough? And when blood runs that deep and you got all this stuff filled up, it's just it's impossible. But they have owned by being on a consistent message. Sure, they have. They've been on a consistent message, a low budget. Even their low budget. If you look up that emotional Palestinian girl, Google it or YouTube it, you're going to find some little girls crying and giving their poems and speeches. Very effective stuff, very low budget. The stuff is played all over the world. Maybe you aren't aware of it, but everyone else is. Everyone else is aware of that. But a lot of it's done by females, and a lot of them know what they're doing. They do a good job. They actually are more creative at it than the males, in my opinion. But that's kind of funny. The most effective thing these groups have done has nothing to do with violence whatsoever. Now, Hezbollah has an army, and Hezbollah obviously did quite a number on Israel when Israel was invading using actual Russian weaponry. Yeah, they were taking out tanks right and left. But when it comes to Palestine, they haven't won through strapping bombs on their chests. They just can't win that way. Now, I guess you could try to take out high-profile targets and whatnot. I'm surprised they don't try to do more of that, to be honest with you. But that would be a strategy. But walking into a disco with bomb on, that just actually reinforces Israel's opinion, or makes them look barbaric. But the type of propaganda they put out with the young women, and what they have their young women doing behind the scenes, you're not going to see them on Fox's Most Wanted. They're not on the Most Wanted list of terrorists because they don't do anything illegal, but they are way more deadly. Way more deadly. This thing would have been over with a long time ago if Palestine would have declared war and just kept going at them violently. But if the Palestinians got very wise with their propaganda, someone taught them a whole lot. I mean, they've learned a whole lot about propaganda. Everyone accuses the National Socialists. Going back to World War II, there's obviously a connection between the National Socialists and the Muslims, but the world doesn't really see any National Socialists. Even if National Socialists were running everything behind the scenes, setting everything up, no one sees that. You don't. You don't see anything. All you see is Anglo-America and a bunch of Hebrews out in front of everything. That's what the rest of the world sees. The rest of the world could care less about. The only people that would be, if Hitler showed up like these neo-Nazis, some of these neo-Nazis online have these wild different dreams about Hitler showing up on a UFO. If he did that, the only people that would be scared by it were white people and some Jews. Yeah, 90% of the world could care less. You say, Hail Hitler. That's the funny thing about it, isn't it? Yeah, you don't believe me? Go around some Muslims, go around some Chinese. They could care less. 6 million, killing 6 million Jews to some Chinese person, or if Hebrews start talking about suffering around the Chinese, that doesn't work on them because they understand suffering. Sure, they have a history based on suffering too, and they're very well aware of that. But back to the women. Women have been used very effectively, and the whole entire Middle East thing has not been won through bullets. It's been won through a consistent message. It's been won through sound and harmonics. Sure it has. And whatever they win will not be because of bullets. It'll be because of Israel. These people have been presented to the world as the greatest oppressed people in the history of the world, the poor little Hebrews, and they're sitting there oppressing people. That's kind of a double standard there, to say the least. They don't like Hitler's Reich, but they want to declare a Muslim. They want themselves a little National Socialist state. And another point I'll make about women too. Women and political correctness. The funny thing about it is the studies, women baffle the researchers. All women of every ethnicity. But if you think about it, the reason the Zulus are still Zulus, or that we're still white, is because of women. It's not because of men. Males will sleep with anything. Believe it or not, 50% of males will sleep with anything. I don't care what they say. But the women tend to be very picky. I guess that makes sense. They're there to carry things on. That's why we're still here. But women, something I saw illustrates the point very well. What the researchers were finding out 10 years ago. They found it out a little too late. What was happening was I was in a restaurant. This was not in America. This was not in Great Britain, but it was around an Indian couple, an actual Indian couple, a Hindu, with the red dots on their heads. Looked like an upper class people from maybe Mumbai or something like that. So we're sitting there, and the waiter, and they're sitting near me, and I overheard their conversation accidentally, and they had a waiter, and I guess the waiter looked a little light in his loafers. Maybe he was gay. Maybe he looked gay to the man. So he made a particular politically incorrect statement. He said something about the gay guy, about the gay waiter. And his wife, of course, immediately digs his nails into his leg, I guess, because he said, now why'd you stick your nails, after the guy went away, he said, now why'd you stick your nails into my leg? She says, that's impolite to wash out gay people. She's like, how many gay people do you know? She says, I don't know any gay men, but you shouldn't say things like that in public, yada, yada, yada. Well, here she is enforcing political correctness. She doesn't know any gay people. She's not very likely probably to know many. Ever. Some women have gay friends, many don't. But this is a great example. She doesn't want to look bad in public. She's reinforcing this political correctness. And that's what the researchers have found out. Women will enforce the stuff, but they won't fully commit. They're not going to go out and try to find gay men to have as friends. If they happen along, that's fine. But a great deal of them just enforce it, but they don't commit. So they baffle the researchers. The researchers said, well, they're going along with all this multiracial stuff, and they do. They don't want people saying anything about multiracial, although a lot of women now are becoming very aggressive. But most women don't want people doing anything to make them look bad in public. They want to have that purse that they want to go. They're very fashionable with their opinions. But at the same time, just because someone's fashionable doesn't mean like they're going to commit to it. And so they're having a big problem